Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Life Here Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojel. On the Life Here Show, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they loved. I'm joined by my Polish co-host, Polish Peter. What's up, dude?
Not much, man. I like him. What's up, dude? So we just came back from an awesome event that we just had, and it's good to be back in the podcast world and record another amazing episode. And I'm really interested what this guy has to say, because he's doing something very unique in the nonprofit world.
Yeah, man. So we're interviewing Steve Chamberland, who is the founder of 50legs.org. It's a nonprofit designed and whose sole function is to help people, amputees that have lost their legs. And it's amazing. This guy is, he's awesome. And when you listen to this interview, I mean, there's some colorful language in here too, so prepare yourself for that. And so I want you to see this guy's heart. I want you to see what he did. I want you to think of if you've ever struggled with something in your life or had something apparently on the surface that's been like tragic, life-changing, how you can turn it around as well. He's done incredible things. He's helped over 600 people now get their life back, through getting them prosthetic legs. It's a super cool interview. And I can't wait for you to hear it.
Yep, let's roll.
Here we go. Here's our interview with Steve Chamberland, founder of 50legs.org. Steve, what's up, man? Welcome to the Life Here Show.
Man, thanks for having me, brother. Appreciate it.
Dude, I got to tell you, Peter, I was introduced to Steve through a mutual friend. And my friend, his name is Todd, he could not stop talking about Steve and this incredible. He's like, because we were talking about I'm like, hey man, who do you know that's awesome? That'd be has an awesome story and would be great on the podcast. And he's like, oh my gosh, you need to talk to my boy, Steve. And so Steve, I don't want to tell too much about you. I'd rather hear it come from you, but here's a guy who went through a huge tragedy that most people would consider a tragedy, I should say, and just found this way to turn it all around. And now he helps other people with a legitimate, this isn't like some small scale thing, like a legitimate big time nonprofit. Steve, man, so tell people specifically about 50 Legs and then what led you into this whole thing.
Yeah, dude, back in 99 when I lost my leg, I was sitting in the hospital and I just started wrestling the Killer Kowalskis in the Malden, Mass. So I'm like, shit, I lose my leg in a motorcycle accident. My leg got ripped off right there at the scene. I look at it, I see it hanging from the grill. Oh. You're thinking life's over. Yeah, dude, it's crazy now what I'm doing now. There's not a day I don't wake up. I wear this cross proudly and I thank God every day I lost my leg to be able to do what I do and all the people I've gotten to help over the last 10 years, over 600 people. And so when I was in the hospital, I'm like, the nurse is like, what are you going to do? I said, I got to wrestle. I want to wrestle. So when I got out of the hospital, I had no leg, I didn't know anybody with a prosthetic leg. So for 30 days, I'm in the hospital going, this is my life. This is what me forever. So you're not knowing. Then I went to different prosthetic companies and nobody would help me. Finally, I'm up in New England and this guy, Peter Kuchar from Next Step, says, man, I'm leaving this last prosthetic company after going to 16, 20 of them. And I'm leaving and I'm crying. I'm going, well, I guess I don't ever walk again. In my head, I didn't know nothing about nothing. So the guy comes running out and he goes, hey man, call this guy. So I end up calling the guy, Peter. Peter's like, where you at? I said, I'm in Bedford, Mass. He's like, well, I'm in Bedford, New Hampshire. Come on up this way. So it literally took me an hour to get there and helped me out, got me my legs. And then I wanted to wrestle. So he ended up paying me to wrestle, getting my legs and doing all this other stuff. And then I did after that, years later, I wanted to wrestle. So I moved to Florida. And then when I came to Florida, I met a bunch of kids with no insurance and no legs. And I mean, I met this little girl that got run over by a truck and lost her leg. And for what reason, I don't know. But I was going to meet her in Georgia, and I'm like, tell her I'll get her legs. So over 10 years ago, and then Jimmy Hart, the Mouth of the South, was with me, and he goes, that's why you lost your leg. You want to help other people get legs. I'm like, all right.
Jimmy Hart, man.
Dude, the best guy in the world. I'm actually doing an event with him and Jerry the King Lawler this weekend in Ocala.
Dude.
So anyway, Jimmy goes, let's do 50 legs in 50 days, not knowing how much they cost or anything. And I'm going, oh, great idea. You know what I mean? So that's why the charity's really called 50 Legs in 50 Days. And, when I started the charity 10 years ago, I wanted to help 50 people. Now I'm over 600 and something people.
Wow.
So the cool thing is, I don't want anybody to wake up like I did and not have and have questions. I want to be there to answer their questions about getting your life back. That's my whole goal when I started this charity. Every kid should have a running leg. Every person that wants to play with their kids should be able to walk without pain. It's just the opposite of what all these other big companies do,
So, dude, hold on a second. So take me back to that moment. Like, how old were you when you had the accident?
1999.
So 29 years old. Dude, that's actually... I think I might have told you this before. I had a motorcycle accident in 99. I dislocated my hip, and I was told I'd never walk again, and I needed a hip replacement. Now, I've been super blessed to not have, but I learned a lot from that. And so you're 29 years old. I can relate. My life, I was bawling. I'm depressed. I'm thinking of my life being over. Like, I'm like, I'm an athlete. You were semi-pro football player. Like you're.
Yeah, I played hockey, football. We did everything. Yeah, we did everything.
How did you cope with that? Like, how did you get past that enough to get the clarity to feel it was a blessing?
Yeah, but it was one of those things. It's like mind over matter. That's a true statement. You know what I mean? It's really, your mind is so evil. It can go either way. You know what I mean? I got a lot of vets that I get laced for. I've got a couple that committed suicide. You know what I mean? So I get it. But the way I look at life now is, it's funny when I go to the places where I grew up now, people love to see me. And I remember when I was crazy as shit, you've heard stories, I'm sure. I'd walk into a bar and people got nervous because it's like, oh, when's he going to flip a switch? Ever since I found, I went back to the church years ago. One of my friends, Rick, got me back in church, bought me this cross like 15 years ago. And I got back in there and you realize, how good life is and what we have here in America. You know what I mean? We literally, with all the craziness going on in the world, but to be able to do something good for somebody else, it's a good feeling,
So do you think it's a choice? Like you just have to decide like, hey, I'm going to look at the good side of this because otherwise like I'm screwed and I'm just going to be a mess and depressed and negative. And
well, I see, what's crazy is I see both sides of that with all the people that I've helped that I still talk to. I get a message every day, minimum one message a day from all the people that I've helped saying thanks. Or like this morning, I got a message from a guy's like, I'm back to this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. So it's cool. You know what I mean? Like when I meet people that have shitty legs and I go up to them, I'm like, what's that, a hanger leg? And 90% of them are, yep. I'm like, yeah, go figure. So what we do is so different than any other company out there. And that's why I use one company, legit. Nobody's in pain. I've helped 600 people and I'm 100% perfect. Everybody's happy.
And so, man, tell me about, you start on this journey, the 50 legs in 50 days. How did that actually go? Like how close did you get?
Well, yeah, we didn't get close at all because it was going to be, it was 50 legs in 50 days. And Jimmy goes, we didn't know how much prosthetics cost. I was getting mine given to me and sponsored, you know what I mean? So I didn't know what. And then when you talk to these big companies, they're like, oh, they're 25,000. I'm like, 25,000 for what?
What?
For a leg?
Is it really?
Like, what the fudge? I can't help. I'll help one person maybe. But the company that I use in Orlando, Stan Patterson, POA, Prosthetics and Orthotics of Orlando, is probably the best company in the world by far. I mean, they're huge. They got 30 employees there. They got amputees that are working on you. They do above and beyond anything else. They do custom liners, meaning they get fitted for a liner, not people say they custom liner. All they do is buy the ones off the shelf and they cut them and they tell them that they're customized. I'm like, yeah, any idiot can customize that. I mean, custom made for because nobody's stumps are the same. If I got my legs off and I got a guy that I got eaten by an alligator, obviously they're two different amputations. You know what I mean? So that one's, so that side of it's like when I wanted to help people, ironically, there was a girl that got hit by a jet ski by her cousin. She was on the jet ski. She lost her leg and she was going to Orlando. She told me about Stan over 10 years ago. And I went up there and I had a meeting with the guy and I said, Stan, what do you think of this? And Stan goes, okay. We shook hands and 10 years later, we never argued one time. And he's only charged me what he pays. So he eats all the other money. Yeah. So like, there's nobody else that would do that in the world, bro, because it's all about money for these big prosthetic companies. They are publicly traded companies or, they got to answer to somebody. Stan's owns it outright. And he's just a God-driven, you ask him, I said, Stan, why do you work so much? He goes, I don't work. He goes, you call this work? He goes, I get to watch people walk for the first time every day. He goes, that ain't work.
Wow. What a perspective, man, to look at it that way.
Well, you gotta, people look at me like I'm nuts because I work 7 days a week. I got my charity. I'm shooting a reality show and I work, you know what I mean? It's like, dude, we're right now, the charity's never done so well financially. And I think we were at 96% give back last year.
Wow.
Well,
just because nothing's changed except we raise more money, and so, now, it's crazy.
Well, something you said to me last time we spoke, man, was because I asked you, I'm like, so is this your full-time gig? You're like, no, I still work. You're like, this is, and so this is truly your love and for people that's doing this. Like you still are making your money through a traditional job.
Well, yeah, dude. Listen, I'm 50 now, so this isn't gonna last forever, obviously. But I'm breeding people. Like honestly, I got a couple girls that 13, and one's just turning 10 at the end of the month. And they're like, one of them is Katie Eddington, and the other one's Sammy Vaca. And honestly, those two will be the future of 50 Legs. One of them's already sponsored by Toyota. She got 2 world records. She's a runner, 3 world records. She's a runner. She's sponsored by Toyota already. So, it's never going to die. Like when I go, the charity's going to keep going because it has to. And, like in Stan's breeding people to take over his deal in 20 years, you know what I mean? So
right.
It's never going to end. It's nice to have a legacy that, like that means something. When I'm gone, I know it's going to still go,
Yeah. Serve more people. And I mean, it sounds like from previous discussions, like this thing's already got a lot of attention. Like you have this concert you were telling me a little bit about. Brett Michaels. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
It was badass, man. I had Hulkster show up and introduce Brett Michaels for me. And then we had Warren. It was Brett Michaels. It was Noah Galloway, the vet that got blown up in 2007, lost his arm and his leg, and he did Dance with the Stars. Great kid. It was such an honor to meet him and spend so much time with him. And it just, dude, it's just been such a blessing. You know what I mean? I tell people all the time, I'm a pastor in God's world, and I'm just, I'm doing the right thing, and the people that I'm around are doing the right thing. And, being able to help so many people every year has just been just amazing. Just amazing how many people we're able to help every year. And it just never gets old. And it's cool, like you said, like with Brett Michaels, and now he wants to do it every year. It meant a lot to him,
Well, So listen, I got a question for you, because as I'm listening to you, and you brought up like the cross several times, and you're wearing it around your neck, and it seems like this is a big part of your life and who you are.
Yes.
And I may be asking an obvious question here, but how much do you think faith has to do with what you've gone through and what you're doing in life here?
1,000%, 100%. It's all faith. It's all God. It really is. I mean, like, I don't know. I was so nuts growing up. I don't think if I lost my leg, I would have been dead by now for sure. 100%. And I believe everybody has a path. It's your path you chose to take. You know what I mean? Like I chose to go, way different than I was. You know what I mean? I chose to go the right walk with God. And every day I say this because I just know without him in my life, I don't think I would be where I'm at, obviously, nor would I or give a shit. You know what I mean? It's just, people got to grow up, not that I'm a preacher. I'll never preach to anybody because you believe whatever you want to believe. That's your choice. I choose to believe in God and believe that he's got a hand on me, show me the right path to live and what to do. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I'm not a preacher, but it's my choice. You know what I mean? I believe in this man right here. And I believe everything that I've gotten over the years, my house, my cars, everything is because I do good work. And you know what I mean? I earn my money the good way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. I love that, man.
But everybody's different. I got friends that say, oh, you preach to God. Like, cause I'll thank God for my, for all the stuff I've been through, there's not, when you're in the pain you're in, when I lost my leg, God, Lord knows I wasn't thanking God then, you know what I mean?
Right.
Because you're in so much pain and you're just saying stupid stuff and you don't realize, but at the end of the day, it's everything's about your choices in life. It really is. It's like, you can choose to go get drunk and drive your motorcycle and die. You can choose to, go to church or help some old lady cross the street. That's all choices we have, So you just gotta, you gotta make the right choices. Listen, I'm no choir boy at all. Don't think I don't mess up now and then, but I'm on the right path. I've been on the right path for a long time, and the charity's showing how faithful I am to my charity and my church and my God,
Well, I was just gonna say, man, you can't help but notice. I mean, so many charities don't have the heart that yours does, or the results, quite frankly. And I can't help but wonder if there's just like a strong relationship there, that you've been blessed because you're faithful with the charity, and you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're changing lives. And I also can't help but wonder, like, I can't help but imagine, like, seeing somebody walk, like, of such a basic thing that we take for granted until you don't have it, like, everything changes.
Yep. I tell people all the time, like, the only thing that sucks when you're missing legs, never mind missing 2 legs, all I ever tell people is, like, the stupid, simplest things in life, like getting up in the middle of the night to go take a piss. Like, you got to get your crutches. Hopefully the floor's not wet from the shower you took before you went to bed. Hopefully, taking a shower, you know what I mean? I got to stand up, and then sit down, you know what I mean? So, like, and then the poor people that can't afford a stand up shower, you know what I mean? It's just so many different things, dude. Some of the Boston bombing survivors, I remember poor Celeste taking a shower with no legs and hearing her stories. And I'm like, so, like, I don't bitch about nothing, dude. Listen, my legs, that's it. I mean, my leg's gone. That thing ain't coming back. I meet people when people bitch about their lives and, oh, I can't pay this. I'm like, get another job, man. How about that? Listen, if I can't afford it, I'm going to work harder. I'll make money. So when people bitch about finances and all their life and, oh, God don't care about me. Oh, this, I said, man, it's just another struggle in life like everybody's going through. How about the people that I've met that I've got legs for? They got no arms, no legs. People that from Afghanistan, like my vets that have PTSD so bad they can't even leave their rooms. You know what I mean? It's just, the stories are just crazy. It's just all what you make of your own life, man. I mean, everybody's got somebody in their life that's Mr. Negative. You know what I mean? Hey, how's it going? Oh, shit. It's 90 degrees out already. Oh my God.
So how do you, so when you run into somebody that's down on their luck, like whether it's a leg, whether it's, just kind of they're feeling down. How have you found it to be effective to kind of help them have the perspective that you've shared with us of like, hey, here's somebody else has been way worse than you. Like, how do you get somebody out of that funk?
Bro, honestly, I've just reached out to a 17-year-old kid that lost his leg up in New England, doing jumping on a train or something like that. I don't know what, it was crazy thing. And he's so depressed at 17 because he's blaming himself. You know what I mean? You can't blame anybody for mistakes. You know what I mean? I used to jump trains in Lowell. Like, I did. You know what I mean? Did I ever get hurt? No. Have I helped people from trains? About 7 people that got run over by trains that lost legs. You know what I mean? So every story out there I've heard. But the only thing you can tell people is, like, listen, 22 years ago when I lost my leg in 99, I wish to God I had me in my life when I was in the hospital just to tell me, hey, you know what, bro? It's going to be all right, man. I'll help you out. Whatever you need, you got a question, call me. I got your back. That little bit of insurance makes you feel like $1 million, because when you're in the hospital for a month, 2 months, and all these people just, and then you got these shitty prosthetic companies coming to you and telling you, oh, we're going to give you the best this. They suck your insurance so dry. There's nothing left and you got a shitty leg, and then they won't fix it because you don't have the money to pay for it. You know what I mean? So I'm so protective of amputees, bro. It's disgusting. Like the only trouble I'll ever get in again is probably beating somebody up for being stupid. It's one of my people. Like, that's the only trouble I'll ever get in. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, all these people are just, they look up to me so much. They put me on a pedestal, which I don't need a pedestal. God needs the pedestal. I'm just passenger in God's wheel. And I get to do so much cool stuff because, of the military, the free, the brave. I'm here in America. They're fighting for me to keep me free and being able to do what we all get to do every day, like this conversation. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for our lives, we wouldn't be able to do this. You know what I mean? Right,
man. That's super true. Well, man, so how do people learn more about what you're doing? Like if they know somebody who needs help, if they want to help you, if they want to sponsor or donate, how do they get involved, man? What are some of the best ways for people to get involved?
Legs.org, just 50legs.org, man. It's so simple. And, we got a bunch of golf tournaments. We're always looking for sponsors and volunteers. We got one in New England coming up in May. I got one in Florida the weekend after. We do a lot of motorcycle events. We do a lot of, the gala was just last week and raised $100,000 last week. We just got another guy that, this is a crazy story. There was a kid in UCLA, college kid. You can Google him. The kid got, he was a football player, stud football player, and he got hit by a bus and he settled out of court for some money. And he was at the prosthetic company. I didn't help him, but he was at the prosthetic company and he seen a bunch of my kids there. And he called the guy that owns the prosthetic company, called me and he says, "Hey, buddy," he goes, "This guy loves what you're doing. He wants to talk to you." I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" He's like, "Hey, Steve, what you're doing is so God's work." And I'm like, "Yeah, man, it really is." And he's like, "I want to give you $100,000.
Wow.
So yeah. So that just helps, 20 more kids. You know what I mean? So everybody talks about money. I look at his legs. So every $5,000 I raise, I get a kid a leg. That's the way I look at money.
Gotcha. So that's the equivalent is like, hey.
Well, that's because it's really like $3,000. But what I do is above and beyond. So I pay for the people's, I got a family coming on, 4 of them, because the mother couldn't get a babysitter for the other 2. So I got 4 of them coming to get new legs. Well, just 1, but 4 traveling. And I pay for their flights and their hotels. The only thing they pay is for transportation and their food.
Got it. So you're really making this like as easy and as simple and as accommodating as possible, like to really, because to really help people with every part of the process.
Yeah, because you look at it like this, bro. If they can't afford a leg, chances are they can't afford a flight for 4 people or a hotel for 2 weeks, a week to 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So I get people walking in 2 days.
Wow, that's awesome.
Like no other prosthetic company's doing that. I promise you. None. Zero. So this guy from Atlanta, Georgia, is named Shorty Coleman. He's a Harlem Globetrotter. He calls me and says, "Hey, man, I heard about your organization." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "You got a leg?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a good knee." He said, "I'm dealing with the prosthetic. How long you been an amputee for?" He's like, "Well, I've been an amputee for a year. I've been at this prosthetic company for 9 months and I haven't walked." I'm like, "What? What do you mean you haven't walked in 9 months?" I said, "Bro, I'll get you running in 3 days. So I'll get you walking in 3 days." He's like, "Mr. Chamberlain, that ain't going to happen." I'm like, "Okay, well, come on, give me a chance." So he comes down on Saturday. Sunday, he gets casted. Monday, so 2 days into it, he calls me and he goes, "Mr. Chamberlain, you lied to me." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You told me I'd be walking at 3. It's only 2, sir." So it was a good lie. I said I'd have you walking at 3, you walking at 2, good, whatever. So that guy calls me all the time, thanking me, like legitimately giving his life back. But he was at a prosthetic company and he only owed they sucked his insurance for $40,000. He only owed $4 more grand and they wouldn't give him his knee to leave the place. So he'd go there, they put his leg on him and then all they would do is let him stand up and go circles, never walked in the bars or anything. I got him and the guy's walking like a champ now with a cane.
And dude, I love these stories and I'm sure you have hundreds of them and each one's individual, yet at the heart of all of them, it's like you gave them their life back, man.
I got one last question because I want to make sure that we're clarified this because we talked about your website, about going for donations, whatever, but
yes, sir.
Would they be going to the same place if they're, let's say, his amputee is listening to this particular podcast and they're looking and thinking about going over there too?
Yeah. So what it is you go to 50legs.org and above on one of the lines. I'm not sure where it is. I don't really go on the website, but if you go on the website, it says application for assistance.
All right.
Got it.
So there's an application for assistance. There's a thing to get on the email addresses, all the bullshit, all that craziness stuff. And then we get the emails right away. And then somebody from the organization usually calls somebody within the next 1 to 3 days, usually tops.
Okay. Got it. Are you dealing with arms too, or just legs?
No, we're just doing legs. Yeah, okay. We don't do arms. It's just, you know what it is, honestly? You know what the stat is of amputees that enlist in their arms that wear them? It's ridiculous. They'll get arms, and they probably use them. I think the stat is like 10% of the people that get arms use them.
Wow.
Okay.
A lot of people get used to doing with the one arm, or if they have no, you know what I mean? It's just because that thing's so uncomfortable. You got this big thing, you got all this straps, and just it's kind of like it's like wearing a holster all day long with a gun on your side. You know what I mean? How comfortable is that going to be? You know?
Yep. Hey man, well, I know you are busy, Steve. This has been an awesome pleasure, man. I feel honored to call you a friend and love what you're doing, man, and keep up the awesome work, man.
All right, brother. Hey, thanks for having me on this, bro.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, God bless you. Thank you.
Dude, can you imagine losing your leg? Like I remember when I dislocated my hip, the doctor told me there's a huge chance that I'd have to get a hip fusion. And if not that, then definitely need a hip replacement and all these things. And all I could think of was not walking. And here's a guy who lost his leg. It's just like injured. It's like gone. Can you imagine what that must have been like especially as an athlete at 29 years old?
Yeah. I mean, I can't, but it's amazing what he's able to accomplish out of this thing, because look, there's a tragedy. From tragedy comes a triumph, and he's been able to go and use what happened to him to be able to go and impact other people's lives and make something out of it, use it for the good of it, as opposed to, say, you know what, I give up. Think about it this way. At one point, you say, give up,
Yeah, I mean, because think of how many people, a lot of people could lose their leg and just life's over. Like they're going to turn to alcohol or drugs or some other coping mechanism that is trying to ease the pain, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, of that huge loss. And he's taken that loss and turned it into something to help other people. We talk a lot about this. We just had our coaches retreat once a year. All of our Life Inner coaches get together and talk. And we just talked about this as coaches, how sometimes the possibility is there that, you went through a divorce as a coach, for instance, so that you could help other people going through that. Or you lost a loved one and suffered through that, because on the other side of that, God was one day going to call you to help somebody else through that. And so what he has done is the exact same thing. He's taken that personal loss and made sure he's made it his life purpose to help other people get their life back by getting their legs back and their mobility and everything that goes along with that. And it's just awesome, man. And it's not, and it's the other thing that we didn't talk about too, is he's name dropping some pretty impressive people, very well-known people. And what that also makes me realize is that I think as humans, we rally around things that are positive and encouraging. So he has, he mentioned, Jimmy, the Hitman Hart was a huge wrestler in WWF back when I was a kid. He did this interview, Peter, I don't know if you heard this before he got in line. He was outside Hulk Hogan's house. They're working on his house.
Yep.
So he's with these people. And I think that, how it's just an incredible kind of turn of events that I guess no person would ever predict or plan, but things happen. And the other thing I think he said is huge too, is when he has faith, and he's has that belief. And now, and the other thing I love about him is he's not the traditional, what you think of this church going Christian guy. He's this rough looking guy who, he's just authentic. And he's him, but he loves the Lord and he's doing this awesome stuff at the same time. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so I had two big takeaways out of this particular podcast. One is obviously about the faith. I asked him the question about that, and he goes 1,000%. Without question, without any hesitation, he just went in and totally did it, because he sees and looks at it if it wasn't for that, I don't think he would be where he is. And the second big takeaway.
Hold on 1 second. to that point, dude, he said every day he thanks God for losing his leg. Could you imagine that?
Yeah. Thank you. Right.
Right.
Think about that for a second. You know what I mean? Talk about being grateful to a whole new level, right?
That's a whole nother level. Thank you for losing my leg. That's amazing.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I think the reason why he's saying this book, because of what has been able to be accomplished in the world. I mean, think about it. He said over 600 people, I think right now he said that he's helped. So 600 people were able to walk again. Imagine what kind of impact that has on that person's life.
Yeah.
He talked about, getting up in the middle of the night to take a leak. Right, I mean, I give up.
Take it for granted.
I mean, it's a whole another world, right? So he's been able to help them in a whole different level. And the second takeaway that I had from this is this. When you don't make it about you, whatever it is that you're doing in life, whatever you're going after, you don't make it about you, and you have a bigger purpose that you're going after and that you're able to help others, and you focus on it really, truly, from the bottom of your heart, that it shines like it oozes like that you are out there helping other people. People will come alongside of you to help you get to that mission. They're going to help you, whether it's a nonprofit or for-profit, whatever it may be. Man. People will come alongside of you to help you get that mission accomplished, that purpose accomplished. But you can't make it about you. And I think that's what he's doing. And he's making amazing transformation in so many people's lives.
And what I also like about that's a fantastic point, man. And what I also like about this at the same time is like, I had the pleasure of speaking to him a couple of times before this. He has a full-time construction crew that he works on, dude. He has one leg and he's out there and he's busting his hump because he's not going to let that beat him. Right. So not only is he helping other people, but he's helping himself. Like it's just what an incredible attitude, man. And just an example.
So on that note, I wish I would have been able to ask him. It didn't even occur to me to ask him at that time, is this question. Okay, somebody says to you, you can't do that. What's your answer to that?
Oh, I think we know what that answer would be.
Yeah, and I think it would be like,
have a bunch of expletives in there as well.
Yeah, you know what? And it would be like, watch me, right? So it's this, there is this, I've heard this before, and I said it sometimes at the 3-day Gear Life giveaway. The word impossible. Yeah. If you break it apart, it actually says, I'm possible.
That's right.
So if you took a look at it that way, I mean, he, I think, believes in this life, and the way he looks at the world is, what else can I do? Yeah. Watch me do this. Watch me do that. You don't think I can do that? Let's do this. Watch me do this. Yep. I just saw a video. It's interesting. Right before this interview, I watched a video of a guy at some kind of a car repair shop. He was in a wheelchair. He had no legs. And this guy is working at the car shop, got himself, this wheelie, and he's holding big tires and everything, and he's moving them and going around the shop. I'm like, dude, talk about rocking things out, right?
It's just some people just have that thing that they're just not going to be a victim. They're going to do what it takes. And, and I don't know how, for me, like, and again, mine is nothing compared to like what these other people have gone through. I eventually said, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to accept the doctor's prognosis, and I'm going to, because I realized that you have a choice ultimately. And I mean, it's just so inspirational to see people like Steve that are doing stuff like this, or the guy you mentioned, or Nick Vujicic. I don't know if I said that correctly, but you've seen videos of him, no arms and legs, right? Yeah, I probably didn't. I saw Nick speak when I was working for the Naval Research Lab. There's like 20 of us in a room, and he's talking in front of me, and he's on a table because he has no arms, no legs. And he's talking to us like right in front of me. And I'm like, how does this guy do this? And so like, I think, I'm super appreciative of all those people out there that don't give up and who make these things happen.
So listen, I'm going to put you on a spot. You up for it?
Okay.
So when you got to look at his eyes opened up a little bit for those who are watching on the video, but here's the thing, that when you got your prognosis, right, for your hip, that, you're not going to be able to walk or whatever, the prognosis that you got. If you said, okay, all right, that's just what it is, and you went the other way, Do you think you would be where you're at now, or
no, man?
Would be?
Because here's the thing: like so I did my share of crying for sure, and just pray, like, God, please make this a dream. Like, please make this a bad nightmare. And then I did some research, and I realized, like, based on what happened to me, there was a 3 to 5% chance that I'd be okay. And I said, I'm going to be that I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the 3%. And so you may have heard me tell this story before, Peter, but like, because I couldn't walk, we lived on the lake, and I would get on my crutches and go to the end of the dock and fall into the water because I couldn't squat down. And I would just use my hands and one leg to doggy paddle. And I'd try and go like 10 feet and then not drown myself. And then, and the next day I'd go back and do it again and again. And I'm trying to rehab, because it said, you got to really start getting active. You got to, and it's as excruciatingly painful as it was. I knew I had to do that. And I got to the point where, like, just every day I failed to believe that I wouldn't be that 3%. I just wouldn't give that a possibility. I'm like, I'm going to be that 3, and I'm going to do everything I can. And so, like, literally I got to the point where, I'm swimming around the entire pond. I got to the point where I was running 10 miles, like for my hip, like, cause I needed my hip to be healthy. And so, all of these people, like, just refuse to take no for an answer. And like, what if, and I'm not, this is personal, this is tragic stuff, but what if we took that same, like, attitude and applied it to, like, that anything in life? Like, I refuse to take no for an answer. Like, you don't stop. I remember you once told me, man, you said this to me. You said, man, when you're up against something in your life, it's either going to be you or it's going to be that thing that's going to budge, and you get to decide which one it is.
Yeah, and so, like, gotta budge.
Yeah, something's going to give.
Yep.
And so, when and I think, we're using extreme examples here with the loss of limbs, with Steve and everybody else. But, like, what if you just took that attitude to life? Like, I'm not going to take no for an answer in terms of having the best relationship I could, or getting the health I want to get, or having, strong, relationships with my friends, or whatever it is that's important to you. Like, don't take no for an answer.
Right on. Can I have said it better?
Awesome.
So,
man.
Because I did say it better from what you're saying.
All right, man. Well, hey, that's going to be a wrap. This is Peter and I started bantering a little bit more than usual in the outro here, but I
don't think half of them already. If you're still tuned in,
if you're still listening, man, like, yeah, you didn't take no for an answer. You're like, right. I am not going to stop this podcast until it's done. So that means
you have to keep going with all the episodes moving forward. Okay?
Right. So listen, if you like this, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Tell your second cousin's niece's roommate about it. It doesn't matter. Tell everybody about the Life Learner Show. We love and appreciate every single listener, and we hope that we'll make a difference in your lives, just like Steve is with 50legs.org. We'll catch you next time, everyone. Take care.